Good afternoon. It is a sign of just how many people across Sydney are doing it tough. When word spread that free groceries were being given away in Penrith and Fairfield West, thousands turned out. People queuing for hours, some from as early as 4 a.m. for a chance to get a gift card. There was $150,000 in total being handed out to those needing food and presents before Christmas.
My family's been struggling this year, and last year I lost my husband, and it'll mean so much just to put food on the table.
Life is tough. It's hard when you've got 6 people in your house and every little bit counts.
It means a lot because you get those little things that you can't afford at the moment to put on the table and to stick in the Christmas stockings for the grandchildren.
Billionaire Adrian Portelli, the man footing the bill in Coles, was met with cheers from the crowd as he made a surprise appearance, stopping to shake hands and pose for photos.
Feeling very generous.
Oh, it's the least we can do. So.
A lot of people have been here since 4 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, well, it just shows, how much this is needed. So.
Do we have to start calling you Santa now? Or?
Oh, no, it's a bit of a stretch, but no, it's just good to be able to help.
Portelli's been doing similar giveaways across the country to help those struggling with the cost of living. Well, heavily armed officers have descended on one of the city's most affluent suburbs. A police operation shutting down Prince Albert Street in Mossman just after 4 a.m. this morning. It's believed the incident was in response to a firearms prohibition order against a local teenager, leaving residents shaken.
We had no idea what was going on, so and we couldn't leave, and my son was about to go to school. Oh, dear. So we just had to wait.
And a little later in our bulletin, our reporter explains how this isn't the first time police have visited the address. Well, the coalition is facing mounting pressure over its nuclear plan, with protests erupting this afternoon. Our political reporter Amanda Kopp has more from Canberra. Amanda, good afternoon. They're not happy, are they?
Good afternoon, Davina. No, environmental activists have teamed up with local residents in regional Victoria today, speaking out against nuclear energy. A town called Traralgon in the Latrobe Valley today hosting a parliamentary inquiry into nuclear power and dozens of protesters. The area is currently home to all 3 of Victoria's remaining coal-fired power stations. It's also earmarked as one of 7 sites where the coalition wants to build nuclear reactors if they're elected to government. Here's what protesters had to say earlier.
Peter Dutton and his coalition are sitting in opposition, and they think that it's a great idea to throw a nuclear grenade into our community to try and get elected. We're the ones who are going to have to live here with this.
I don't believe nuclear power is good for my grandchildren or my great-grandchildren when they come along.
Meanwhile, Labor says nuclear will cost too much and take too long to build in comparison to renewables. But opposition leader Peter Dutton says it's Labor's plan that's pushing up power prices, saying it's been 3 years today since Anthony Albanese promised to bring down bills.
Remember when Anthony Albanese promised to cut your power bills by $275 a year? That was 3 years ago to the day. And he didn't just promise it once.
$275.
Labor said it 97 times before the last election.
While Labor's government subsidies have reduced power bills by a once-off $300 in recent months, a new report from the energy regulator shows in the last year a record number of people are on hardship payment plans. Davina.
OK, Amanda, thank you. Well, police are investigating a suspicious unit fire in Sydney's west. That blaze broke out around 2 a.m. at Mark Street, Chester Hill. The fire crews had a tough time getting the flames because the items were blocking the entrance. A firefighter was taken to hospital suffering heat exhaustion and dehydration. The male resident, who initially couldn't be found, is reportedly now OK. A fiery shock for garbage collectors in Sydney's west this morning who saw smoke pouring from their truck on Berry Street at Clyde. The driver forced to dump the 3-tonne load onto the road to help the fire crews, who quickly doused the flames. The cause, though, is still under investigation. An Israeli-American soldier who was believed to have been taken hostage in the October 7 attack is now thought to be dead. Israeli authorities say 21-year-old Omar Nautra was killed in a battle during the initial Hamas attack, his body taken to Gaza. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has warned there'll be hell to pay if Israeli hostages are still not freed by this time he is sworn into office next month. The president-elect posting on Truth Social saying those responsible will be hit harder than anyone has been hit in the long history of the USA. Joe Biden's decision to pardon his son Hunter is continuing to attract criticism from both sides of politics. More from our US correspondent, Reid Butler.
Well, both sides of the aisle today fuming at Joe Biden over this captain's call, a decision that will shape his legacy. In pardoning his son Hunter of serious federal crimes, including gun and tax charges, Democrats fear Biden has handed President-elect Donald Trump a dangerous mandate to do more of the same and further destabilise the justice system, which has come under repeated attack by Donald Trump and his allies. Biden has said he hopes Americans understand why he made the decision to spare his son punishment for those crimes. But the problem is he repeatedly said he wouldn't pardon Hunter again and again and again. The President, Joe Biden, though, is a world away from Washington, D.C. right now. He's just arrived in Africa. It was up to his wife, the First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden, to field questions about the pardoning at the White House.
Dr. Biden, what changed on the pardon for Hunter?
The people on Biden's own team, the Democrats, have despaired over this move. Some are now calling for an overhaul of the rules to prevent presidents from using this extraordinary power to benefit family members.
What other father in America has the power to pardon his son or daughter if they're convicted of a crime? I really think we have to revisit the pardon power in the Constitution.
Now, the next president, Donald Trump, is no stranger to pardoning his own family members. In 2020, as he was wrapping up his first term, he pardoned the father of his son-in-law. Charles Kushner was pardoned for historical crimes. Funnily enough, in the past few days, Donald Trump has appointed Charles Kushner to be the US ambassador to France in his next administration.
Embarrassing and not credible. That's how pubs and hotels are labelling a long-awaited report into the state's gambling system handed down today. Our state politics reporter Sophie Upcross has the story. So what does it recommend?
Well, the main recommendation from the expert panel is for the government to introduce account-based gaming by 2028, which means gamers would need a mandatory government account to play the pokies. The recommendations are based on a trial originally called cashless gaming, which was rolled out statewide, but only 240 people ever signed up. 105 of those only used it once, and right now there are only 14 active users. But the panel say, despite the lack of engagement, they're still hopeful it will reduce problem gambling and money laundering.
There's brand new technology and there's also a cost associated with who's going to pay. So we've made a decision as a cabinet to look at the report, release it to the public.
If you're money laundering, you don't want to be identified. So I think that we can basically say that that won't happen in the future. But in terms of problem gambling, individuals will have the ability to limit their spend or exclude themselves from playing poker machines.
It's garnered a mixed response. The Australian Hotels Association and Clubs New South Wales are critical of the trial, while the Council of Social Services have endorsed the main recommendations.
OK, so thank you.